Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Did We Make Ourselves Clear podcast. My name is Summer Richardson, and you are here with me today with election clarity. We'll do a 5-part series of election clarity, and this is the very first episode. I want to welcome everybody. So I'm pretty much taking over Did We Make Ourselves Clear podcast today. I'm really excited about the opportunity in this platform, and I want to thank the entire team for allowing me to take over. The biggest thing is that we had such a wonderful time last year in October when I was on this episode, and we got a lot of great feedback from the audience. There were a lot of great questions, and so they asked me, hey, come on again this year. So here I am returning. The biggest thing I want to say is that, I'm really passionate about elections. I'm really passionate about people getting involved with the electoral process and understanding the type of impact that it has on your everyday lives. So, first things first, everyone, whether you're watching now or you'll tune in later, I need you guys to do me a favor. Please take a seat and close your eyes. Now, individuals that may be actually driving or cooking, that might be a little bit more difficult, but I want you to participate in this activity as much as possible. So, I want everybody to take a seat and close their eyes. The first thing I want you to do is take a deep breath in. You're going to inhale, and then you're going to exhale in my direction. So, everybody inhale and exhale. Didn't that feel pretty good? Let's try that again. So everybody inhale and exhale. Now, we're going to try this one more time. But this time when we do it, I want everyone, when they get ready to inhale, with my direction, I want you to hold on. And then do not exhale until I tell you to. But the most important thing about this is that while you're holding that breath, I want you to listen. Listen closely to the words that come out of my mouth. Okay? So, with this time, you're going to actually have to take a huge deep breath from your abdominal area. Okay? So, everybody ready? Again, I'm going to count to 3 first. You're going to inhale, hold, and then you're going to exhale when I tell you to. Okay? So, 1, 2, 3. Inhale and hold. As you're holding, I want you to think about this crazy past year we've just gone through. Some of you have lost loved ones, friends, families, jobs, income, businesses, marriages, homes, cars, you name it. You've gone through the ups and downs. You've also been a victim of crime. You also have gone through the pandemic. You've survived COVID. You've been a victim of racial injustice or bigotry. You're tired. You've been worn out by the election cycle, the political climate, and even the spiritual environment. Now slowly release. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, this last year, so many ups and downs we've all experienced. Things that we probably would never, ever imagine that the world would experience at the same time. But the mere fact that you were able to participate in that activity, take a deep breath, that there's breath still left in your body, means that there's still purpose for you. So no matter what you're going through, even if you're still going through things at the top of the year, in the second month of a brand new year, know and understand that if you've got breath in your body, there is still purpose for you. You see, life is about moving forward, learning, growing, developing, understanding, gaining knowledge, and then learning how to apply those things to have a better life for yourself, for your family, for your friends and your spheres of influence. See, this pandemic has taught us things, so many things. And no matter where you find yourself on the political spectrum, whether you say, Summer, I'm a diehard Democrat, or I'm a diehard Republican, or I'm a Green Party, or a Libertarian person, or a Reform Party, or I'm an independent, or I'm a little bit of everything, or depending on what's going on in the world, or Summer, I'm nothing at all, and matter of fact, I'm tired of it all. There is one thing we can all say we are, and that is humans. So we've got a chart that explains Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And whether you subscribe to that belief or understanding, there is some true things on that chart, and it deals with the 3 human basic needs that we all have, no matter what's going on. 1, that's loving and belonging, which deals with friendship, family, intimacy, and a sense of connection. Then there's safety and security, which deals with our health, our employment, property, family, and social stability. And then last, there's the physiological needs, breathing. I just had you guys participate in that activity where we took a deep breath. Food, water, shelter, clothing, and sleep. You may say, Summer, what in the world does that have to do with voting and politics and everything else? I'm glad you asked. It has absolutely everything to deal with that. You see, ladies and gentlemen, everything begins with leadership. Leadership in our homes, in our places of work, in our places of worship, in organizations and associations that we are affiliated with, in our courtrooms, in our communities, and in our government. See, this pandemic has taught us that the government has so much impact and power on our daily lives. Just think about it. It is our elected officials that are running our states, our cities, our suburbs, our townships, depending on where you live, and they're deciding whether masks should be mandated or not. They're also deciding if businesses and sometimes the schools, our places of worship, restaurants, arts and entertainment should open back up, and if they do, should it be 75% capacity, 50% capacity? They're also deciding who qualifies as an essential worker, who should be in line first to receive the vaccine. And depending upon what state and city and county and township you live in, they're often also responsible for putting individuals and appointing individuals to various boards and commissions that have vital impact on your school boards, on your public safety boards, on your police boards. Let's take a look at some stats. And you can look this up with me. According to the United States Election Project, over 160 million people voted in the November 2020 election. And that was the highest voter turnout in 120 years. And many nations and many locations and states and cities had record-breaking turnouts when it came to early voting, also absentee voting. But let's take a look here locally at the state of Missouri. At the state of Missouri, we had over 4 million people come out and vote. And that percentage ended up with 70% voter turnout. You can fact check these records on the Secretary of State's website here in the state of Missouri. Let's break it down even more with the counties. In Jackson County, Missouri, there was 80.7% voter turnout. In St. Louis County, there was 79.28% voter turnout. 79.28% voter turnout. And that actually set a record. And it beat the previous record, which was in the last general presidential election in 2016, where there was 74% voter turnout. Then there was St. Charles County, anywhere between 76 to 79% voter turnout. Then there was Jefferson County, who had 73.6% voter turnout. I got to take a deep breath for this one. St. Louis City had 66.05% voter turnout. Did you hear me? I said 66.05% voter turnout, which was actually down from the 2016 voter turnout, which was 70%. Then Kansas City, Missouri had 60.53% voter turnout. And then if we take a look at our brothers and sisters across the water in Chicago, Illinois, they had 73.28% voter turnout. You know what these numbers tell me? We've got a long way to go. Even though we had record-breaking voter turnout, we still have a long way to go. The election jurisdiction, especially in St. Louis City, when we saw those numbers, we were just amazed. We could not believe only 66%. So you may say, Summer, listen, 70% is passing last time I checked. Well, is passing all that we're good for? You just want passing? How about we strive for excellence and better? That's just like saying, okay, I have to have open heart surgery, and I'm going to let a surgeon that only has 70% on their test operate on me or my family member. Are you kidding me? There is no way in the world that you would allow a surgeon to operate on you or your loved one who only has 70% on their test. You want the absolute best for you, your family, your loved ones, and your spheres of influence. We've got to do better. Ladies and gentlemen, hear my heart. For the first time, I think we have realized how important it is to have active, compassionate, understanding, selfless, brave leaders in government, willing to put party dynamics aside in order to make sure that our very human basic needs are met. We need to elect leaders who understand the biblical principle of love your neighbor as you love yourself. We must hold our leaders accountable who are in office. But how can we hold them accountable if we are not being responsible and participating in voting? As leaders of our homes, it is imperative that we stand and take an active and become more active, okay? Take an active stand and make sure that we are getting more involved in selecting leaders that we know that will represent us, our families, our friends, our neighborhoods, and our spheres of influence. We have to. Ladies and gentlemen, this wasn't to beat you guys down. We needed to have a serious talk and a heart-to-heart about the realistically what things are looking like. This pandemic has made so much impact. We've got to take more responsibility and be more actively involved, no matter what's going on. Thank you for that moment of reflection. So, again, my name is Summer Richardson, and I've taken over. Did We Make Ourselves Clear podcast? I've actually worked in the elections for over 14 years. I'm currently one of the assistant deputy directors at the St. Louis City Election Board, and I can honestly say I absolutely love my job. I'm passionate about my job. I'm passionate about citizens being able to have fair, efficient, and safe elections, whether you're voting in person or you're doing it at the privacy of your home. Any questions that come through, I'll do my best to make sure we answer them more towards the end. But if you don't get a chance to answer a question today and you think about something later, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Summer Richardson, Kick, Push, Pull. My Kick, Push, Pull is actually a training and development business that I have where I go out and help others understand their God-given purpose and creating work-life balance with that. You can't be overwhelmed and giving and giving and giving, and you're depleted at the end of the day. We'll be doing more things coming up soon in April, so please follow me. Along with that, politics is another area that I'm passionate about. People consider me an expert. I'm just a young woman that is passionate about politics and the importance of everyone becoming more involved. When you follow me on social media, you'll find more helpful resources as far as various websites that you can use to look up information, no matter if you live in the state of Missouri or anywhere else. It is so important that you know and understand that even though we've gone through this presidential election, we are now approaching additional local elections throughout the nation. And during these elections, there are mayoral elections, county executives that we're electing. There's citizen petitions that deal with the laws and regulations and policies of your neighborhoods that you need to make sure that you're informed in. And you need to be just as passionate for the presidential election as you are with your local elections. We just talked about all the reasons why. Immediate effect on your daily lives, immediate effect on just the basic human needs that you have. I want to take this time out to actually thank all of the election authorities throughout the entire nation, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to all the deputy directors and leadership and commissioners and supervisors and managers, people that worked on the polls, that volunteered, our election judges, our poll managers and supervisors, as well as our high school students and student greeters that got involved, anyone that helped during this pandemic and big, huge 2020 election cycle, thank you. You all did an amazing job. I know that it wasn't easy. Many of you all only had 2 to 4 hours of sleep. You lost time. Many of you even came down with COVID in your effort to help make sure that we have safe, fair, and efficient elections. I want to salute you and thank you. Job well done. I know there was so much information out there, and I want to thank the audience and all the listeners around. Everyone for being patient with the election authorities. We are still human. There's oftentimes there was a lot of misinformation about what was going on, a lot of propaganda, but I promise you it was our job and our duty to make sure we counted every single ballot, everything we could possibly do continuously, okay? So thank you all. I also want to send a special congratulations to our Vice President, the very first African-American Vice President, Kamala Harris. I salute you, I'm proud of you, thank you, and I look forward to what you're gonna do for us. I also wanna send a special shout out to Cori Bush for everything that she's done. She's our very first African-American U.S. representative for Congressional District, the first district, which is my district. I'm proud of you, I'm excited for what you'll be doing. Thank you all. So let's talk about the upcoming election here in the city of St. Louis. Again, there are elections taking place throughout the nation. So if you don't live in the state of Missouri and you don't live in St. Louis City, it's imperative that you, as a responsible citizen, like we just talked about, take initiative to make sure that you are logging on to all of the election jurisdictions. Where you live, you need to find their websites, log on, call them. Find out about your Secretary of State's website and find out about the local elections that are taking place so that you make sure that you're informed, that you know what is coming up and what is on the ballot. So here in the city of St. Louis, we have what's called the March 2nd nonpartisan municipal primary election. And so there's been some changes that have occurred now this year. And so one of those things now is what's called Prop D. And let's talk about Prop D for a second. So Prop D, Proposition D, short for Prop D, was passed in the November 3rd election 2020 in the city of St. Louis. And what that tells, it's called approval voting. And what that means is that for this particular election coming up, it will be an open, nonpartisan system elections for the offices of mayor, comptroller, the president of the board of aldermen, and aldermen. Okay? And with that being said, so what does that mean for voters for the city of St. Louis? Okay? So, number one, that means that approval voting means that in each particular race, whether there is 2 people running, 1 person running, or 5 people running in each race, you as a voter, because the passage of Prop D, have the opportunity to vote for as many people as you like or you wish or that you want to in each particular race. So if you like all 5, you can vote for all 5. If you only want to vote for 1, you can vote for 1, 2, 3, so forth and so on. So for each particular race, you now have the legal right, because of the passing of Prop D, to vote for as many candidates in each race as you choose to. Second, because it is an open, nonpartisan election, Each candidate will no longer have a political party affiliated with them next to their name on the ballot. So now it is all nonpartisan. So even though a particular candidate might have always been known as a Democrat or Republican or Green or Libertarian, this individual will no longer have a political party next to their name because it is a nonpartisan election. With that also being said, with primaries, normally you have to pick a party ballot. But because now they are nonpartisan, you are no longer required to pick a party ballot. There will be one ballot with every single race on that particular ballot, with the candidates that have no political parties next to their name. So now when you go and vote, again, for each race you can vote for as many candidates as you want. And what will happen now is the top two candidates from each particular race, the top two candidates that win, that get the most votes, those names will then be placed on the April 6th general municipal election ballot. Okay? And of those two candidates, whoever wins, it'll be the runoff. Whoever wins, whoever gets the most votes will be the winner. Okay? So March election, you vote for as many people as you wish. The top two candidates' names will appear now on the April 6th election, and then you'll go back to voting for one person, and the person that gets the most votes for that election, their name, they'll win. Okay? This information is also available on the St. Louis City election website. It gives all the details. It even directs you about the policy and information, and where the ordinances are and the policies and the laws. So you can look that information up on the St. Louis City Board of Elections website. An also very useful website to understand approval voting more is the Center for Election Science. The Center for Election Science. You can even Google that. It's the Center for Election Science. That is a website that you can utilize that will be very useful and helpful for you to understand approval voting. Okay? Now, along with that, there was a different or more things that were required for those candidates when they were running for these particular offices. So filing began November 23rd and it ended January 4th. So also for those candidates that ran, they had to submit a petition with a number of signatures from registered voters throughout the city of St. Louis. And that petition had to be 2% of the votes that were cast in the last April 4th, 2017 general municipal election. So for example, for those that are running for mayor and comptroller, they needed to have 1,170 signatures on that petition when they submitted. Those that were running for alderperson, they just needed to have a certain number based off the 2% number of voters that voted in the April 4th, 2017 election. Again, that's already closed. Those individuals and those names are already on the ballot, and you can find the ballots on the website, on the St. Louis City Board of Elections website, so you can find out. For this particular election, the only thing that is on the ballot is the individuals that are running for mayor, for comptroller, and all of the odd ward, okay, all of the odd ward alderperson. That's who we're electing, with an exception of the 12th ward and the 4th ward. Okay, that's the only thing that's on the ballot. There is no initiative, petition, or anything like that on the ballot. Again, if you want to access the ballot, you can go to our website, St. Louis City Board of Elections website, to take a look at the ballot so that you can make sure that you're informed. The other thing to talk about is with this approval voting, again, you can go ahead and Google the Center for Election Science, and it breaks down the information. There's only 2 jurisdictions nationwide that have implemented this. And St. Louis City is one of those jurisdictions that has implemented this. The other location is a election authority in North Dakota. Other than that, it's mostly individuals that are dealing with political parties, the United Nations Secretary of State General, various professional associations, the Texas Libertarian Party and Green Party and the Reform Party. They use the approval voting method. Other than that, it's just those 2 jurisdictions, St. Louis City and then a jurisdiction in North Dakota, that have actually approved the approval voting process. Okay? Now, what else has changed? So if you remember last year, every single election jurisdiction throughout the entire nation implemented some additional form of absentee or early voting to deal with the pandemic, whether they put in place COVID-19 reasons for voting or mail-in voting. They added those things. So what happened in the state of Missouri was that we added an additional reason to the 6 absentee reasons. And so that additional reason was COVID-19. Either you yourself were affected with COVID-19 or you're at risk for being infected with COVID-19. And pretty much they use the CDC for all the reasons why. 65 and older, or you have any type of immune disease or deficiency, diabetes, heart attack, blood pressure, all those things, respiratory issues, all the reasons that the CDC lists. That was a reason why you were once able to vote absentee. The additional reason was the mail-in ballot, where if you felt that you didn't meet any of the 6 reasons absentee in addition to COVID-19, but you did not feel comfortable going into the polling place on election day, then you would qualify for a mail-in ballot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the state of Missouri, that was only extended to 2020 election cycle. Now that we're in a new election cycle, and even though we're still dealing with the pandemic, that is no longer the law. So now we go back to the original 6 reasons why a person can vote absentee. And in order to get this information, you can definitely take a look at all of the election jurisdictions websites. So St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles County, Secretary of State's website. They list all of the 6 absentee reasons that you would vote absentee. So let's talk about them. 1, absent for the city on election day. 2, incapacitated or confined to your home due to an illness or a disability, including a loved one of someone that is confined to their home and has an illness or a disability. 3, religious beliefs or practices. 4, employment as an election authority, which includes people that are poll workers or election judges, full-time staff, as well as temporary staff that help us out on election day. Then 5, being incarcerated. You have not been convicted, but you are incarcerated. You have the legal right to request an absentee ballot. And then last is you are a part of what's called certified participant in the address confidentiality program. So what that means is that the state of Missouri has a program called Safe at Home, and that is specifically for individuals that may be in a domestic violence situation. We offer this for their privacy, for their safety, and their protection. If you don't live in the state of Missouri, please check your local elections jurisdiction's website, as well as their Secretary of State's website or your city websites, to find out if there's anything similar to this that is in place for anybody that could be in any type of domestic violence situation for their safety and protection. One more addition, as far as the being incarcerated, individuals, and this is in the state of Missouri, if you've been convicted, you've served your time, you've completed probation and parole, your voting rights are reinstated. I'll repeat it again. If you've been convicted, served your time, and you've completed probation and parole, your voting rights are reinstated in the state of Missouri. I know in other cities and states, there has been huge fight and advocacy groups that are out there because a lot of people, once convicted, and even after they've served their time or finished their probation and parole, their voting rights are not reinstated. But in the state of Missouri, they are. Again, to get more information about absentee or anything dealing with voting, you can go onto the website, St. Louis City Election Board, St. Charles County, St. Louis County Election Board, Secretary of State. All of those websites are helpful and useful websites. You can also look at the Vogue of the League of Women's Voter website. It is very informational, has a lot of information for you. Even if you live in other states or cities, we've got information about what's going on in the Senate, what's going on in the White House, all of those things we've got, and they're nonpartisan websites, okay? So they're just for information purposes always. They give a continuous up-to-date every minute, every 3 minutes of what's going on and what's happening, okay? Now, If you say, hey, I'm fine, I don't qualify for any of the absentee, I feel comfortable going to vote on election day. Excellent. I want to let you know the polling places are still safe. They still look like your local grocery stores. We have all the PPE supplies your heart could desire, okay? So we have all of the social distancing markers. We have the plexiglass that separates you and the voter and the poll worker from each other. They even have a cutout where you can slide the poll pad back and forth. We have disinfectant spray, sanitizer. We have paper towels, masks, gloves, you name it. We've got plenty of poll workers that are still dedicated to working. We have high school students that have been helping out and serving as our hand sanitizing, cleaning teams to help sanitize everything that a voter could touch. Chairs, tables, voting equipment, pens, stylists, you name it. Everything you could think of. Biggest thing for you is you need to make sure that you have a voting plan before you walk through the door to vote. 1, check your registration. Go onto your local election jurisdiction's website. Type in your address and make sure we have your up-to-date your address. Again, if you live in St. Louis City, the St. Louis City Election Board website, St. Louis County, St. Charles County, Jackson, Kansas City, wherever you live, those websites need to be saved in your faves, just FYI. And you also need to make sure that you save the telephone numbers for your election jurisdictions in your cell phones. You need to always be able to access and have immediate access to these election jurisdictions. You might need to call us on election day. So make sure you have that information. So 1, check and make sure we have your up-to-date voter registration. It's interesting how whenever you move, everyone gives the post office, they give their bill collectors, their family and friends, but they never contact the election authority. We are not connected to those entities. You actually have to tell us and send us and let us know that you have physically moved to another address. Even if you move from apartment A to apartment B, we need that updated information. Now, the ways that you can go about doing that: A, you can come down face to face and go straight into your election jurisdiction's offices. Go right in, update your address. You can go onto the website of the Secretary of State and actually update your address. You can go into the social service locations that are open, such as your DMVs, and update your address. Or you can mail us a registration card with your updated address. The most issues that we have is normally a person has not updated their address when they go and vote, which means it's going to take you longer because we have to fill out the proper paperwork to make sure you're at the right polling place, you're at the right ward, township, precinct, whatever your area uses, to make sure that you're casting your ballot at the correct polling place, okay? So check your voter registration. 2, know your polling place, okay? Again, use those websites: St. Louis City Election Board, St. Louis County, St. Charles, Jackson, everywhere. Check those websites, put your address in, and it will pop up with your actual polling place. It'll give you the name, the address, the door to enter, and even the accessible wheelchair area that you might, if you need that, okay? 3rd, print out your sample ballot. Your sample ballot is your best friend, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you know what's on your ballot. The next holdup most of the time is that people get to the polling place, they know about 2 things on the ballot. They get the ballot and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know all this was on the ballot. And then they are taking forever, or they leave it blank, which is also not good. And then they walk away. So make sure you know what's on your ballot. Again, go onto the website of your local election jurisdiction, print out the sample ballot, and do your research. We just talked about that. Find out about the candidates that are running. Check out their campaign websites. Check out what they're doing. Follow them on social media. Find out what their platforms are about. What are their visions and mission, and what motivated them to get involved? You'll hear from a young brother on next week who's running for 7th Ward Alderman. He'll talk about his story and share with you why he decided to get involved. You guys need to make sure you do your due diligence to know who is running for office, and if they really do believe and have compassion and understanding and are brave and really understand just the human basic need that we all have. Do your due diligence. And then also make sure that you're doing research on the petitions and the initiatives that are going to be on your ballot. That has a lot to do with our tax dollars. Okay, so are you saying that this tax dollar is really going to go towards schools, or is it really not going to go towards school? Know and understand. I've provided a number of resources and helpful websites that you can look at to make sure that you know and understand, okay? Next, bring acceptable forms of ID. In the state of Missouri, they have not changed. That includes your driver's license, your state ID, your school ID, a current utility bill, so Spire and Ameren and MSD, all of those are fine, as well as the little voter notification card that all of the election jurisdictions work so hard at sending out, and every single voter, I see people just throwing them in the trash like it's trash. It's not trash, ladies and gentlemen. It's a useful tool that will help and is used as an acceptable form of identification. Make sure you know. If you don't live in the state of Missouri, you make sure that you log on again, because it's saved in your faves, onto your local elections jurisdictions and find out, has anything changed with the acceptable forms of ID? Make sure you are informed. Next, unfortunately, we don't think there are going to be long lines. I just gave you the numbers. I wish there were going to be long lines. Now, in St. Louis City, the last municipal election cycle, which was in 2017, we did pretty good as far as our numbers. There were in the 28% as well as the 30% between March and April, which we were really proud of. I know those numbers don't sound good, but that was a huge improvement. So again, remember, we're focusing on going out and voting every single election. So we hope there's going to be lines, can't guarantee, but you need to be prepared to wait, because if nothing else, again, social distancing is still in play, which means there'll be 6 feet markers down on the ground separating you from the person in front of you and the person behind you for your safety and your neighbor's safety. Don't forget. So it may appear that there are long lines. It's just that we're keeping you guys safe, which could be in the case where some people may be a little bit outside of the door, because we live in Missouri, and honestly, the way the climate is and everything going on, who knows what the temperature will be like in March. I think the last time it was actually freezing rain outside. So you want to make sure that you layer up, that you're prepared weather-wise, and that you have comfortable shoes, that you bring a drink and a snack, and that you prepare the family. Matter of fact, you make sure you grab your nephew who just turned 18 and that niece that just turned 18. You make sure you grab that cousin, those aunts and uncles, and you remind everybody, this is a family trip. We are going to cast our ballot because it is important. We need to make sure that we vote in every single election, okay? Next, be patient. Be patient. Please be patient. So, again, there are so many things in so many areas, and voting is just one of the ways that we can make our voices be heard and have great impact on our communities. Again, we just talked about all the reasons why it is important for you to vote, how much impact and power they really do have. But you as citizens, wherever you live, it is your responsibility to make sure that you participate, that you're electing leaders that represent you and represent you well. There's so much information that was going on, especially in the last year, about voter intimidation and challenging voters. That is why you make sure that you have all of you're armed with all of the mighty tools. You've checked your registration. You know your polling place. You know your ward. You know your precinct. You know your township. You've got all of those acceptable forms of identification. You're prepared to wait in line. You're going to be patient with the poll workers. That way, if you get there and someone still tries to intimidate you, you've got our number saved in your phone, which means you're going to contact the election board and you're going to let us know immediately what's going on so that we can send out election authority to deal with that situation immediately. We don't want to hear about things in the news later on. We want to deal with it right then and there. We're staffed, we're armed, we have individuals that will come out and address whatever those issues are. It is our duty and our effort that we want to make sure that we are having fair, efficient, safe elections, that every single registered voter has an opportunity to cast their ballot, period. Thank you all so much. There was tons of helpful resources that I provided. I just want to let you all know that you can continue to follow me on all social media platforms. Summer Richardson at Kick Push Pull. I'm often putting information out there continuously about elections and what's happening. And honestly, there were so many things we could have talked about today. So many things that are going on in Congress with Democrats and Republicans and fighting still and trying to figure out what's best, along with, things that are happening with the CARES Act. Are we going to get more money? Are we going to get the help that we really need? Along with if we're going to go ahead and convict our former president or not. There were so many things going on, but my goal today was really just kind of an introductory of the importance of voting, helpful resources you can use. I want to just say, don't get overwhelmed with all of the information. There's so many outlets and media outlets and social media platforms, and everything's popping up on our cell phones, continuous minute by minute about things that are happening in the elections and what's happening in Congress. Don't let yourself be overwhelmed. Be encouraged. There are days that I even have to take a breath like we did earlier and kind of just take a breath and lay back and say, you know what, today I'm not going to take a look. But you do need to make sure that you're continuously informed, okay? You do need to check at least once a week, every 3 times a week, maybe every single Friday to get updated on what's happening in your local community as well as what Congress is doing that will eventually have an impact on your state, on your community. Okay, it's imperative that you do that. I want to really thank the Did We Make Ourselves Clear podcast for letting me take over for today. This was just one episode of the total of 5, so we got 4 more. And I promise you, I'll come back on. We can talk about the March election results. We can talk about the April elections that's going to take place here locally. We'll even discuss other elections that have taken place in other states. We can talk about Congress and what's going on and different issues that they're facing. Again, if you have additional questions, please reach out to me. You can DM me. You can even call me. I'm going to give you my number at the election board, 314-622-3236. 314-622-3236. Call me. If I don't have an answer to your 314-622-3236. That is my office number. I promise you, if I don't have an answer to your election question, I will get the answer and direct you to the right organization, right individuals or people, wherever you're at. I'll try to get that answer for you. I am a resource. Utilize me. This is something that I'm passionate about. I have the wonderful opportunity that I actually work in the field that I love. Many people don't have that option, and I pray that after this pandemic is over with, that things will continue to progress in your lives. But I have that passion and that opportunity to work in an area that I love. So please use me as a resource. And again, if I don't have the answer, I will direct you to the right people or the right organization that will get you the answer that you need. So, in ending, there's a couple of things I just want to say. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to breathe. Know that you are God's greatest creation. Now go out and pursue your God-given gift, purpose, and talents unapologetically, because someone is waiting on you. I hope that you experience God's love, joy, and peace. Stay safe and always remember to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Peace, love, and joy, my friends. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you soon. And this is Did We Make Ourselves Clear? Signing off.